What does winning the gold medal have to do with job search? Welcome to the Career Success Secrets Show. I am your host, Mike Tomasello. Today's show is primarily focused on mindset. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mindset, I don't need that. Mindset, not so sure that that's important. Mindset, how is that going to help me land job offers and get more jobs? And I guarantee you, if you listen to this podcast, you are going to hear at least one kernel of wisdom that's going to demonstrate to you how changing your mindset is going to increase your odds of moving forward in the hiring process at more companies and ultimately resulting in a job offer. Or if you get good enough at your mindset, if you get good enough at your job search skills, potentially even landing multiple job offers like some of my clients have. So let me give you an example of a bad mindset. If you are convinced you're unemployable, your subconscious is going to self-sabotage you to prove you right. If you throw out words like, the job search is impossible, and I totally get that sometimes in our heads, it feels like, man, the job search is so friggin' frustrating. The numbers are much lower than we're usually expecting, that it's tempting to use that word impossible. But here's the thing. When you're using words like that, you're sending messages to your subconscious, and your subconscious is believing you. And so when you're saying a definitive statement like the job search is impossible, or I'm unemployable, or no one wants to hire me, or no one wants to hire me because I don't have enough experience, or no one wants to hire me because I have too much experience, or no one wants to hire me because they're ageist and I'm too old. Now, there might be elements or kernels of truth in some of those things that you're experiencing, and none of those things are 100% true. And if you're sending those messages to your subconscious will believe you. And your subconscious wants to be proven right. Your brain wants to be right. Your subconscious is going to self-sabotage yourself to prove yourself that you are unemployable. Your subconscious is going to want to prove you right and say, yep, she thinks she's unemployable, so let's prove her right by not getting her any job offers, by having them choose someone else. And all of this time, you might not be realizing that it's actually a close photo finish, if you will, for the person that's ultimately ending up getting the job. So what I would encourage you to do is I want you to view that next job offer, or for those of you that aren't actively looking for that next job offer, that next promotion, or slightly different for this last example in that if you're looking to make more money or a salary range, you could view it as a gold medal. Now, luckily, most employers are able to give multiple people raises and not just one. With a salary range, there can sometimes be a gold medal, a silver medal, a bronze medalist, maybe even 4th, 5th, and 6th place might get a little bit of additional compensation. But as much as we want to support and love on other people, there's a limited quantity of the job you want. And there's a limited amount of dollars at that particular company. There's abundantly more elsewhere. And one person or a small group of people is going to receive that. And some of the people that are not going to receive the job offer, some of the people that are not going to receive the gold medal, it's not because they're bad. They're actually pretty amazing. They're actually probably one of the top 1%. But only one person can have the final prize when it comes to a job role. The job description that you're applying for, most of the time there's only one position on the team doing those duties that's open. One gold medal, one job offer. Most athletes will celebrate a silver or bronze medal, but you as a job searcher, are you celebrating the fact that you are a finalist? Or are you like most of us, and are you beating yourself up and not giving yourself credit for the fact that you were a finalist? Here's the funny thing. You beating yourself up and not giving yourself credit for the partial results you are getting, you are actually eroding your own self-esteem. That's right. It's not them doing it to you. It's actually how you are interpreting, how you are choosing to change the meaning of the data to be entirely a bad thing. Not the end result that you wanted. I totally acknowledge that. I get it. It's not the perfect result. But if you're getting an interview, you're in the top 1% to 4% of all applicants. Sort of depends on whether you're applying to a small or a medium-sized company. Let's take this Olympic example a little bit further. So the men's 100-meter sprint, the difference between first place and fourth place is less than 1 second. That's right. The difference between first place and fourth place, not just first place and second place, is less than 1 second. I didn't say less than a minute. I didn't say less than 30 seconds. It's actually even closer than that. It's not even a tenth of a second. It's not of 100th of a second difference between first and second place in the Olympics for the 100-meter yard dash. It was a photo finish, a nose or a toe length, if you will. It was actually less than 1,000th of a second between first and second place. Why the heck am I talking about the Olympics? Why the heck am I talking about sports? It's because I want you to get in the right mindset for your career, that it's simply not good enough to show up. Showing up's a really great start. You got to show up in order to take action. You got to show up to be considered. And in a competitive situation where there's only one opening, you need to have a gold medal mindset so that you're constantly looking for that growth mindset that's going to move you forward, that's going to have you improving. And there's always something you can be do to improving, even when it doesn't feel like it. You need to be turning yourself into a growth mindset where you're constantly asking yourself, all right, didn't reach my result this week. How can I improve, even if it's just 1%? And we'll talk about that more throughout the rest of the show. So when you are pursuing a better life, let alone excellent life, the competition can often be fierce at times. Oftentimes people will say, well, that means if I'm going on 10 interviews that no one wants to hire me. But that's not realistic whatsoever. If they completely did not want to hire you, you wouldn't have gotten an interview at all. Many times recruiters will tell you, hey, we had many qualified candidates, and it's usually true, and we couldn't interview them all. So whatever it is in reality, if you're making it to the interview round, let alone a finalist round, you are in the top 1% of all applicants. And depending on the company, depending on how far you went in the process, you were better, arguably 99.95% of all the other candidates if you made it to the final round. So I know this is going to be challenging for some of you, but I would invite you to celebrate. Yes, celebrate. I know that might seem weird. Celebrate that you're actually making progress. I would like you to celebrate that you're getting closer and closer either to being a finalist or closer and closer to eventually being the person that wins the gold medal. It's very rare that when an athlete competes in their sport for the first time, or the athlete takes a couple years off because they're happy, they don't want to win any gold medals, they're happy with their lives and their careers. And then, well, wait a minute, now I want a gold medal. Now I want a new job opportunity, or now I need a new job opportunity. And it's been 4 years since your last competition, or it's been 7 years since your last competition. And you're finding that the level of competition has increased and that you need to be getting into this mindset in terms of winning that gold medal. So please realize the difference between first and second place is inches, or in this case, a few millimeters, or in this case, a few milliseconds. So infinitesimally small, because I want to help you understand that when it comes to job search, or whether it be the application process or the interview process, doing lots of little things is super important. Listen up. Doing lots of little things really well that might not seem important isolated by themselves can have you narrowly beat out someone else. Now, that little thing you chose, or those dozen little things you chose to get better at, they're not going to necessarily be the number one reason why you get hired. But when it's close between you and someone else, a bunch of little things can be that 1% improvement. That can be the difference between you finishing with a gold medal and winning the job offer, or you finishing in fourth place and not getting a reward at all. Now, some of you might be listening to this and struggling and thinking, well, man, I've already putting forward my best. And my response to you would be, isn't it likely that you can be at least 1% better in one of 20 or 30 different ways? Maybe you can only think of one. And my challenge to you is, no matter how successful we are, usually have the capacity to improve at least 1% in dozens of different ways, if not 20 or 30 ways. Is it possible that you could be at least 1% better than you know? So this reminds me of a story. Sorry for another sports analogy, but they just come easier to the brain. So for those of you that are familiar with the Los Angeles Lakers are considered one of the greatest NBA basketball franchises of all time. And they've had many great coaches over the years, but one of their greater coaches was Pat Riley. And so Pat Riley, along with the general management, assembled one of the most talented basketball teams that the NBA had ever seen. And everyone was predicting that they would win the world championship that year. And they didn't. They didn't win it. And so it would have been very easy for Coach Riley. It would have been very easy for the players to be like, man, we did our best and no one wanted to make us world champions. We did our best and we still fell short. I guess we should pack it up. And these are people that are competing for the prize only once a year. So Coach Riley did something really, really important. Even though the players had thought that they had done their best and done a really amazing job that year, he challenged the players to say, isn't it possible that you can get at least 1% better? 1%. That's all I'm asking. Can you get 1% better this year from last year? And luckily, he managed to get the team to buy in. And so each member of the team was looking every week of the NBA season, every week of the basketball season, on getting just 1% better every week. Sure enough, the Los Angeles Lakers under Coach Riley won the world championship that year. So don't get me wrong. I know all of you are different. All of you listening are different. I don't know the skills you're lacking. I don't know if it's a skill gap for this specific role and a specific job duty. I don't know if it's an experience gap in that you've never done something before and it's just impossible for them to get over. I don't know if your 1% is to get better at professional networking. My guess is a lot of you could probably get better in professional networking by at least 5%, if not 10%, if not 50%. Maybe you need to get 1% better at your interviewing, if not 5%, if not 10%, if not 50%. So I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I want to point out that in addition to what you have on paper, in addition to your qualifications, there are additional skills that are being used to evaluate whether or not you win the gold medal for that job, and they're skills you're not necessarily thinking about. So I don't know if you can get 1% better in writing your emails. My guess is most of you fit that category. I don't know if you can go 1% better at tracking down the names of people within the companies you want to work for and learning how to contact them directly more effectively. I don't know if you can get 1% better at communicating your value proposition for that position, that specific position you're applying to. My guess is there's probably a lot more than 1% you could improve that you could improve on, especially if you're thinking about job search specific skills. So I didn't even cover resume or LinkedIn yet or whatever. You're telling me you can't improve by 1%? If you have been applying online, or historically you have been applying online and doing nothing else to apply, due to the sheer number of other people that are applying, and the fact that maybe 5 to 10 out of all of those applicants are going to get an interview, not everyone that's qualified is going to get an interview. Your odds of applying online and doing nothing else and moving forward is somewhere between less than 0.5%, less than 0.5%. That means significantly less than 1%, and maybe 4%. And 4% is really high success rate unless you're applying to a lot of small companies. So let me put these numbers into even further perspective for you. I didn't say 5% in terms of you need to improve by 5%. I said you need to improve by at least 1%. If you could improve more, let's improve more. Let's improve more every week. Let's get as many different things moving in our favor as possible. So here's another crazy stat, which puts how difficult job search is in perspective. Out of all the applicants that get into Harvard, and I know there's a lot of great schools out there. It's not all about Harvard, but Harvard, one of the consistently most famous, if not the most famous university in the entire United States, if not the entire world, for most degrees. So almost everyone around the world has heard of Harvard. Less than 14% of all applicants get into Harvard. I would think, man, friggin' hard to get into Harvard, because it is. And landing a job at Google, landing the one opening they have at Google in the one position that's a good fit for you, landing the one role at Netflix, landing the one role at Meta, landing the one role at Microsoft, whatever that big ideal dream company is for you. And I get that some of those companies are wrong for some of you, but for some of you, an ideal type of company, it's harder to land that job at those companies than it is for some of you to get into Harvard. So once we realize that metric, we can either decide, okay, well, maybe I'm going to lower my standards and apply for jobs that are a better fit or more realistic, or am I going to be a champion? Am I going to be focused on constant and never-ending improvement and continually improve on the things that I'm not perfect at, which no one is perfect at everything. Now, I always like to remind you that I am not here to discourage you. I am here to help you understand the reality so that you can change and do things differently. So you can say, okay, well, the odds are against me. What can I do differently to improve? What can I do differently to increase my odds? We have talked about some of those things and some of those skills in this episode and episodes of the past. So your brain should be constantly trying to problem solve. How can I land even more interviews? Or how can I land interviews for even more prestigious jobs? How can I increase my chances? These are the types of things that we need to be thinking about. Now, if you are not asking yourself questions like that regularly on at least a weekly basis, you do not currently have a growth mindset. You do not currently have a growth mindset, and people that do not have a growth mindset are less likely to be happier in life. They're less likely to achieve goals. Not saying that we haven't all been at a fixed mindset at some point in our lives, but the power of being dedicated to growth can take you very far. And to take it a step further, take on a gold medal attitude. There's one gold medal available. Now, if you get the gold medal, you don't beat yourself up for finishing with the silver medal. You don't beat yourself up for finishing with the bronze medal. But you do say, hey, I still really want that amazing result. I need to go out there and get better, because the competition is also great. The competition is better than I originally realized. So there are multiple opportunities that are opening up every month. Unlike the Olympics, where the Olympics only comes once every 4 years, you get to continue to get better. And there's thousands and thousands of companies that you could potentially work for. And each of them has multiple positions that are maybe opening up in a given year, maybe not at the same time, maybe not in the same month, but there will be other opportunities where you can qualify for the gold medal if you keep improving. That's the message that I wanted to leave you with for this week. Go out and figure out, what do those gold medal winning activities look like for you? What do those gold medal improvement activities look like for you? I am your host, Mike Tomasello, and thanks for listening to the Career Success Secrets Show.